Ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we are almost done with our forgiveness essay, which of course is our last essay of the year. So let's talk about it very quickly. You have written an introduction, no details, no sources, nothing. You just talked about forgiveness or revenge as a big idea, and you funneled it down to your thesis, which was probably that forgiveness was better than revenge for many reasons. Boom, you were done with your introduction. Then we did our first body paragraph, and that was where we did introduce our first source, and we gave our first quote. And of course, that was from the ultra important speech, Let South Africa Show the World How to Forgive. You explained for a little while what was important about it. Then you gave a quote from it. Then you explained how that quote was important. This quote clearly shows that forgiveness is better for blah, blah, blah. Then, of course, you explained why it was important. This is important because you were done with that paragraph. You did almost the exact same thing for your second body paragraph, which was, of course, for the article Forgiveness Defined. Same thing. You explained it. You gave a quote. You explained the quote. You said why it was important. And then you were done. Boom, with your second body paragraph. Yesterday or the other day, we did our third body paragraph, and it was just a different article. And this one was, if I'm correct, it is the power of forgiveness, correct? And it was the same thing. You explained why it was important. You gave a quote. You explained the quote. And you explained again how it was important to the whole thesis as a whole. And then you were done with the power of forgiveness. I guess we're all seeing now that this is... It's a pattern, right? Writing essays like this, when you're using research and you're using other people's ideas and fusing them with your own, it's just a pattern that you're following. And all you really need, it's kind of like cooking. You just need the ingredients. And once you have the ingredients, you go home and you cook it the same way every time, right? You just need ingredients. So today we're going to do our fourth body paragraph, and it's going to be exactly like the second, third were, and like the other paragraphs we did for our other essays. You're going to explain what's important about your source, right? Then you're going to explain a quote. You're going to give a quote. Consider the following quote from blank. We'll talk about that in a second. Then you're going to explain that quote. This quote clearly shows this is important because boom, and then you're done. And I'm saying this over and over and over so that it locks into your head, so that next year, junior year, senior year, or in college, when you're asked to do this, you can follow this very simple structure. You can expand it every time. Instead of giving 2 sentences why it's important, give 8 sentences why it's important. Or it gets even crazier. You ready? Give 2 quotes. Another quote from this ultra important source would be, and then explain that in the same very similar fashion. So today, let's take a look at the worksheet that I always have for you. Let me present it for you right now. We're going to go to Unit 3, fourth body paragraph. You should be looking at it right about now. Now, think about this. There are 3 sources left that we read, right? Now's the time for you to pick one of the 3. I'm not going to tell you which one to pick. You're going to choose. So remember, we have to choose from 7 reasons why revenge is a bad idea, which gave us, are you ready? 7 reasons why revenge is a bad idea. So it might be a really good way to talk about that. If you do choose that, I think it would be very simple. For your first couple of sentences, just talk about the fact now why revenge is bad. And you can say forgiveness is good for so many reasons, but revenge is also bad for very many reasons. In fact, that is discussed in detail in the really important article, 7 Reasons Why Revenge is a Bad Idea. In fact, consider the following quote. So if you choose that, you have something more to talk about. Talk about why revenge is bad, right? For 2 or 3 sentences, that it's bad for your health, it's bad for, relationships, whatever, you know, because you've read the articles, right? Of course, you could do the other article that we read, which was Understanding Forgiveness. I mean, you're not going to go with why revenge is bad, but you can talk about the fact that for a couple of sentences, why it's important, not that people do forgive, but that people understand what it really is to forgive. So for a couple of sentences, if you're choosing this article, how do I start this paragraph? Throughout life, you're going to have to forgive or take out revenge on people. It's just, this is going to happen. Well, it's very important to understand what forgiveness is before you do it, to make sure that you are doing it for the right reasons. Well, consider the following quote from the really important article, Understanding Forgiveness. So a great idea for, if you're going to use Understanding Forgiveness, would be to talk about why it's important that people do understand what they're doing and what they're getting into. Boom, give your quote, explain the quote. The quote is important because, and then you're done. Now, the third choice that you could do is the short story that we read. If you recall, we read the Korean folktale, What We Plant, We Will Eat, about the brother who gets kicked out by the other brother, and then he comes back to him and he needs his help. You recall that, right? And the other brother chose to forgive him, and he brought him in. You could give an example from that. If you choose the short story, then of course the first couple of sentences of your paragraph, you should be talking about the fact that we don't just see this in articles and scientific research. Well, there's been plenty of stories written about the theme of forgiveness and revenge. Thousands and thousands of them. The theme of forgiveness, revenge is prevalent in so many different stories and movies. You kind of can't get away from it. That's different things that you can talk about. And then, of course, you can say a great story that talks about forgiveness and revenge. That's all about forgiveness and revenge would be what we plant, we will eat. A Korean folktale. And then consider the following quote from the story. This quote clearly shows that forgiveness is good, bam, or revenge is bad, bam. And then you explain it. This is important because it provides us with not just an article or scientific research, but an actual story that you can use to teach this to people. Because sometimes people have to learn the hard way. And why not teach them through stories rather than learning the hard way? There's so many different ways that you can talk about this. So again, ladies and gentlemen, pick one of the three. Are you going to pick 7 reasons why revenge is a bad idea and give a quote from that? Are you going to pick the short story, what we plant, we will eat, and give a quote from that? Or are you going to pick understanding forgiveness and give a quote from that? If anybody, oh, by the way, obviously you're going to go back to those annotations. We did annotations for all 3 of those. Why don't you, before you decide if you're on the fence of all 3 of them, you're not sure which one to do, go back and look at your annotations and let the quotes pick for you. Pick your citations. Which ones are the best? Which ones are like back pocket quotes that are just so easy that when you put it in your essay, it's just going to make your essay rock. So that's one way you can look about it. So ladies and gentlemen, get your 4th body paragraph done. If you need any help, ask. Nice job.